really bad person. I have done terrible things that no one should ever do.
On November 30th, 2021, he made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Ethan was a 15-year-old student who carried out a horrifying mass shooting at Oxford High School in Oxford Township, Michigan. Armed with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, Crumley killed 4 students, Madison Baldwin, Tate Meyer, Hannah St. Juliana and Justin Schilling, and injured 7 others, including a teacher. The incident began when Crumley entered a school bathroom with his gun. A minute later, he emerged and started firing in the hallways as students changed classes. His approach was methodical. He shot into classrooms and at anyone who couldn't escape. Fortunately, thanks to the swift actions of students and staff, locking doors and barricading them, Crumley couldn't get into any classrooms.
Yeah, he said it's safe to come out.
Now, we're not willing to take that risk right now.
I can't hear you.
We're not taking that risk right now.
Okay, well, come to the door. Look at my bag, bro.
No. Yeah, bro.
No, he said bro.
He said bro. Red flags.
The shooting only lasted about 5 minutes. During this chaos, the school went into lockdown. Students were evacuated to a nearby Mayor store or sheltered in homes. Police arrived within minutes of the first 911 calls, and Crumley was apprehended without resistance. He still had 7 rounds of ammunition and 2 15-round magazines with him. Following his arrest, Crumley was charged with 24 crimes, including murder and terrorism. His trial was a significant legal event.
I remember hearing a squish sound against my right ear, and it was the sound of carpet mixed with blood. And I realized it was Hannah. I could hear her groaning beside me. I kept trying to reassure her. Someone will come help us. Don't worry. Just keep breathing. Just please stay with me.
My daughter's lifeless body was laying on a cold metal gurney. I remember her hand laying out from underneath the sheet, and her fingernails were blue.
We want you to spend the rest of your life rotting in your cell. What you stole from us is not replaceable.
If you were that lonely, that miserable, that lost, and you really needed a friend, Justin would have been your friend if you had only asked him.
Initially, Crumley was held at the county's juvenile detention facility, but was later moved to an adult facility due to the severity of the charges. He pleaded guilty to all charges in October 2022.
2021 caused the deaths of Madison Baldwin, Tate Meyer, Hannah St. Juliana, and Justin Schilling.
Yes. And in December 2023, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 24 years. Judge Kwame Rowe ruled that Crumley was eligible for a life sentence without parole, citing the gravity of his crimes despite his young age. Before his sentencing, Crumley expressed remorse, apologizing to the victims' families and asking for any sentence they deemed appropriate.
Mr. Crumley, is there anything you would like to state before I pass sentence?
Yes, sir. I'd like to thank you for letting me speak, Your Honor. We are all here because of me today, of what I did. My actions were because of what I chose to do. I could not stop myself, but I am the one who led to why we are here today. I do not diminish any ability to anyone who could have stopped me, of anyone of a school or parents. They did not know, and I did not tell them what I planned to do, so they are not at fault of what I've done. I am a really bad person. I have done terrible things that no one should ever do. I have lied, been not trustworthy. I've hurt many people. Any sentence that they ask for, I ask that you do impose it on me, because I want them to be happy, and I want them to feel secure and safe, and I do not want them to worry another day. Because I really am sorry for what I've done, for what I've taken of them. I cannot give it back, but I can try my best in the future to help other people, and that is what I will do.
Crumley's parents, Jennifer and James Crumley, faced their own legal consequences. They were charged with involuntary manslaughter for failing to secure the gun that Ethan used. Their failure to appear for their arraignment led to a manhunt. They were eventually found and arrested in Detroit. Both parents were convicted and sentenced to 15 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 10 years. Leading up to the shooting, Ethan Crumley displayed concerning behavior. He'd sent disturbing texts to his mother, sketched violent images, and even recorded videos discussing his plans. Despite these warning signs, they paid no attention. The school was criticized for not searching his backpack or locker despite these red flags. Crumley's parents had bought the gun just days before the shooting, and there was significant controversy over their handling of the firearm. The Crumleys' failure to secure the weapon and their apparent negligence played a major role in the legal actions taken against them. This is James Egan Holmes. He was responsible for the 2012 Aurora theater shooting. A devastating attack that took place on July 20th, 2012 at a Century 16 movie theater in Aurora, Colorado. During a midnight screening of The Dark Knight Rises, Holmes opened fire on the audience, killing 12 people and injuring 70 others. In addition to the shooting, he had booby-trapped his apartment with explosives, which were defused the following day by a bomb squad. Holmes was arrested shortly after the shooting, found standing next to his car behind the theater. He was taken into custody without resistance, and during his arrest, he was described as initially calm and detached. Holmes was subsequently jailed without bail while awaiting trial. During this period, he made several suicide attempts and was placed under suicide watch. Holmes entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, which was accepted by the court. His trial began on April 27, 2015. Throughout the proceedings, his behavior was notably strange and erratic. Holmes's attorneys argued that he suffered from severe mental illness and was not in control of his actions at the time of the shooting.
Doing the homicide got me out of the depression.
Talk to me about the necessity of carrying out the shootings themselves after the preparation had done its job.
Well, the shootings were supposed to increase my self-worth.
On August 26, 2015, Judge Carlos Samor sentenced Holmes to 12 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 3,318 years.
I want to make it clear that it is the court's intention that the defendant never set foot in free society again. The intention of my sentences is that he spend every single day of the rest of his life in prison.
The jury had spared Holmes the death penalty by a single vote. In his remarks, Judge Samor declared, "It is the intention of this court that the defendant never set foot in free society again," reflecting the gravity of Holmes's crimes and the court's intent to ensure he would remain imprisoned for life.
The defendant's senseless, horrific, heinous acts have needlessly impacted thousands of people. And as one of the victims put it, he took life from hundreds or thousands who are still breathing.
Holmes's family had mixed reactions throughout the trial.
I want all the jurors to know not to feel bad about what happened, because we're very happy with the sentence. We think it's our best chance to see the defendant die in our lifetime.
His parents, Robert and Arlene Holmes, were deeply affected by the case. They expressed their sorrow for the victims and their families, though they also faced criticism from the public and media. His mother, Arlene, made a public plea for understanding and forgiveness, while his father, Robert, expressed profound regret and bewilderment over his son's actions, emphasizing that they had not expected such a tragedy from someone they had known and loved. This is Martez Abram. He was involved in a tragic and highly publicized criminal case involving a shooting at a Walmart in South Haven, Mississippi on July 30th, 2019. Abram, who'd been an employee at the Walmart for around 20 years, fatally shot two of his co-workers, Anthony Brown and Brandon Gales. The shooting also resulted in injuries to a South Haven police officer who responded to the scene.
Once I got out of my vehicle, I heard gunshots and I felt the pressure of a bullet.
Abram's actions were premeditated as he had planned the attack days in advance. On the day of the shooting, he arrived at the Walmart early in the morning, executed Brown in the parking lot, and then continued inside, where he shot Gales and set a fire in the store.
With his eyes open, and I ran up to him, and I looked at him.
Following the shooting, Abram was arrested after being shot by the responding officer. At the time of his arrest, an AK-47 rifle was found, which authorities noted could have caused even more harm if he had managed to access it. Abram's trial, which began after his recovery, was marked by his defense's attempt to argue for a life sentence without the possibility of parole, citing his mental health issues as a mitigating factor. Conversely, the prosecution sought the death penalty, emphasizing the severity of Abram's crimes and the premeditation involved. During the trial, Abram's behavior was notable. He showed visible distress when confronted with evidence of his actions, including video footage of the shooting.
Look at it, please, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Gale is on the floor going down at this point, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay, and that's you shooting him, right?
Yes.
Look at the screen, sir.
Yes.
That's you shooting him?
Yes.
And you admit that you shot him in cold blood?
Yes.
You shot him again, didn't you?
Yes.
After that, you went back to the toilet paper aisle, didn't you?
The jury deliberated for just over 50 minutes on Abram's guilt and nearly 3 hours on the appropriate sentence, ultimately deciding on the death penalty for the murders of Brown and Gales.
In count 1, I will sentence you to death. Count 2, you will be sentenced to death. In count 3, you will be sentenced to life in the penitentiary.
Abram was also sentenced to life imprisonment for the attempted murder of the police officer. During the trial, family members of the victims made statements expressing their pain over the loss of their loved ones and the impact of the crime on their lives.
You took Anthony from me on the exact day, 20 years earlier, that we had our first.
Despite their pain, they conveyed a sense of forgiveness.
We are a Christian family. And Mr. Martez, God requires us to forgive you for what you did. It didn't happen overnight. Forgiveness didn't come that easily. But with prayer, over time, we were able to forgive you for what you done.
On the other hand, Abram's family also spoke. Abram's stepmother commented on the case, questioning the fairness of applying the death penalty in his situation compared to other mass murder cases.
What about nationwide when there have been mass murders that have not got the death penalty? What about those that kill children and innocent babies and those things? What about that?
This is Zokhar Tsarnaev. He's a Chechen-American who was involved in the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, a tragic event that shocked the entire community. The bombing occurred on April 15, 2013, during the annual Boston Marathon, one of the most prestigious long-distance running events in the world.
I saw one guy with his legs gone at the knees, some ankles and feet missing.
Tsarnaev and his older brother Tamerlan Tsarnaev orchestrated the attack, which resulted in the deaths of 3 people and injuries to over 260 others. Zokhar Tsarnaev was born on July 22, 1993 in Kyrgyzstan to ethnic Chechen parents. His family immigrated to the United States in the early 2000s and settled in Massachusetts. Tsarnaev, along with his brother Tamerlan, became radicalized over time. The Tsarnaev brothers were influenced by extremist Islamic ideologies and had expressed grievances against U.S. foreign policy, particularly in the Muslim world. In the months leading up to the bombing, both brothers had become increasingly radicalized. Tamerlan Tsarnaev was known to have been influenced by extremist online materials and had reportedly traveled to Chechnya and Dagestan, regions with active Islamist militant groups. The radicalization and extremist beliefs of the Tsarnaev brothers played a crucial role in their decision to carry out the attack. On the day of the marathon, the Tsarnaev brothers planted 2 homemade bombs near the finish line of the Boston Marathon. These bombs, crafted using pressure cookers filled with shrapnel, were designed to maximize casualties. The first bomb exploded at 2:49 p.m., followed by the second explosion approximately 12 seconds later. The blasts caused immediate chaos, with many people suffering severe injuries or losing their lives. The attacks were carefully planned. The bombs were placed in backpacks, which were then left on the ground among the crowd. The pressure cookers were packed with metal fragments and nails to increase the lethality of the explosions. The Tsarnaev brothers' knowledge of bomb making and their choice of a high-visibility target aimed to create maximum impact and fear. Following the bombing, a massive manhunt was launched to capture the perpetrators. The investigation quickly identified the Tsarnaev brothers as the suspects through surveillance footage and other evidence. The FBI released images of the suspects, which led to tips from the public. On April 18, 2013, The Tsarnaev brothers were involved in a violent confrontation with law enforcement in Watertown, Massachusetts. The confrontation began when the brothers attempted to rob a convenience store and subsequently engaged in a firefight with police. During the clash, Tamerlan Tsarnaev was killed.
8 bullets in him, and he was still fighting us.
And I'm laying there, and I saw the front wheels go over Tamerlan. I saw him bounce up and underneath the undercarriage a couple of times. I saw him get hung up in the rear wheels and get dragged 20, 25.
And Zokhar Tsarnaev managed to escape.
What do you think provoked this?
No.
Being losers.
What do you say to Johar right now? He is still...
I say, Johar, if you're alive, turn yourself in and ask for forgiveness.
The search for Zokhar Tsarnaev continued, and he was eventually captured on April 19, 2013. Tsarnaev was found hiding in a boat parked in a residential backyard in Watertown. He was taken into custody after a standoff with law enforcement, during which he was injured and subsequently treated at a hospital. Zokhar Tsarnaev's trial began in 2015. He was charged with multiple offenses, including the use of a weapon of mass destruction and the killing of 4 people, including a police officer, during the manhunt. The prosecution argued that Tsarnaev was motivated by extremist beliefs and aimed to cause maximum harm and terror. In April 2015, Tsarnaev was found guilty on 30 counts related to the bombing. The jury sentenced him to death on 17 of those counts. This is Patrick Wood Crusius. He was responsible for a horrific mass shooting on August 3, 2019 at a Walmart in El Paso, Texas. Crusius, who was 21 years old at the time, embarked on a deadly spree that resulted in the deaths of 23 people and injuries to 22 others. This shooting was one of the deadliest attacks on Latinos in modern American history and was heavily investigated as both a domestic terrorism incident and a hate crime. The attack unfolded after Crusius drove approximately 650 miles from his home in Allen, Texas to El Paso. He arrived in the early morning hours and spent time driving around the city with no clear target. After making a stop at a pizzeria that was closed, Crusius arrived at the Walmart near the Cielo Vista Mall around 9 a.m. He initially conducted a reconnaissance of the store and then left before re-entering to buy an orange, which he ate in the store before leaving again. At 10:15 a.m., he posted a manifesto on 8chan, a controversial image board, and shortly after he began his attack. Crusius used a WASR-10 rifle to shoot both inside and outside the Walmart, targeting shoppers and employees indiscriminately. Crusius's actions were motivated by extremist beliefs. His manifesto, posted online before the shooting, espoused white nationalist and anti-immigrant views influenced by previous attacks such as the Christchurch mosque shootings. The document articulated fears of a Hispanic invasion and supported the racist conspiracy theory known as the Great Replacement, which falsely claims that immigrants are deliberately replacing native populations. This manifesto outlined his grievances and justified his violent actions, reflecting a deep-seated hatred and a misguided sense of racial preservation. After the shooting, Crusius drove to an intersection, stopped, and surrendered to law enforcement officers. He identified himself as the shooter and was arrested without further incident. He was initially charged with capital murder and faced extensive investigations by federal and state authorities. The FBI and other agencies collected evidence and interviewed individuals connected to Crusius to understand his motives and background. During his trial, Crusius's demeanor was notably detached and lacked visible remorse. This contributed to the emotional weight of the proceedings and affected public perception of the case. On February 8, 2023, Crusius pleaded guilty to 90 federal charges, including murder and hate crimes. The Department of Justice decided not to seek the death penalty, and on July 7, 2023, Crusius was sentenced to 90 consecutive life sentences in federal prison. However, he still faces potential state charges in Texas that could lead to the death penalty. This is Anderson Lee Aldrich. He was responsible for a devastating anti-LGBT motivated mass shooting at Club Q, a gay bar in Colorado Springs, Colorado, on November 19th and 20th, 2022. Aldrich, who was 22 years old at the time, entered the club armed with an AR-15 style rifle, multiple magazines of ammunition, and wearing body armor. During the attack, he fired indiscriminately at patrons and employees, resulting in the deaths of 5 individuals and injuries to 25 others, 19 of whom were shot. The shooting occurred on the eve of the Transgender Day of Remembrance, adding a tragic layer to the incident. Aldrich was injured while being restrained by patrons and subsequently taken to a local hospital. After the shooting, Aldrich was charged and remanded in custody. The legal process began with state-level charges. On June 26, 2023, Aldrich pleaded guilty to these charges and was sentenced to 5 consecutive life terms, plus an additional 2,211 years in prison, all without the possibility of parole. On January 16, 2024, Aldrich was also charged with 50 federal hate crimes related to the shooting. Aldrich's defense team argued that he identified as non-binary and used they-them pronouns, though his self-identification was questioned by experts and was not mentioned prior to the shooting. His behavior in court was often described as lacking visible remorse.